Hi, I'm Dr. Douglas Cowan. Thanks for visiting my website. Thanks for visiting my office. This is my office where I meet with my clients one-on-one, and this is the office where I record my radio show that's heard Sunday evenings on KAXL, Life FM in Bakersfield. And in this brief video, I'm going to begin showing you how to create a powerful breakthrough in your life that will help you to overcome the pain of rejection, the lies in your head, and the fear, anxiety, or depression that has held you back for months and perhaps years. This process sometimes takes weeks or months, and helping people through this process is what I do as a therapist. But in this video, I would like to introduce you to a few of the powerful ideas to get you started in this journey. I hope that this video will help you to cut through the information clutter and discover some of the truly important things that you need to have the kind of breakthrough that will set you free. As you move through this process step by step, you'll begin to feel more confident about yourself and about your future. And you can begin to use these things right now, today. These concepts that I'm going to share with you will help you to overcome the things that are holding you back in life, those inner blocks that come from the lies that we have come to believe. I'm going to show you why we get these inner blocks and give you some of the keys to help to unlock them. These are the same things that I talk to my clients about in one-on-one meetings, although I do have the opportunity to spend a lot more time with my clients here in my office than I'll be able to spend with you in this video. As we start then, I want to ask you one powerful question. If your life is not where you want it to be, do you know why that is? You might have some thoughts or theories about it, but honestly, are your remedies, your efforts on this or on that path actually working? The reality is, if you've not yet been able to fix the problem, if you're still struggling, then almost always it's because it's an inside job. There's usually something going on internally preventing you from being where you want to be and having the kind of life that you would like to have. And when you know what that is and you do something about it, well, this is a game changer. Look, it's easy and it's very common for us to make excuses or to create reasons that are outside of us for the problems that we're experiencing. We call this the locus of control. And it's the idea of, are there just things outside of us that cause us problems, that cause us limits, that put restrictions on us, that hold us back? Are those all outside of us? Or is it an inside job? Is it something inside of us? We'd like to point outside of ourselves to explain why we are where we are in life right now. And yeah, while things outside of us might truly be a factor, you know and I know that we all know other people with similar circumstances to you who are being very successful in their lives and in their families in spite of those circumstances. Why? Because what's holding you back is going on inside of you. It's an inside job. And the most important thing is for you to focus and find it and then address it and fix it. And this is where you're going to find your false beliefs and lies that have limited you and held you back from reaching your full potential. What are these lies that I'm talking about? Well, this is what I talk about with pretty much all of the clients who come into my office. Let's look at it this way. Let's start with emotions. We all have emotions, and they come from a variety of sources. They can come from our brains, just generated from brain tissue that's kind of running amok, and this is where you get panic attacks or anxiety disorders, even maybe post-traumatic stress disorder, things like that. And they need to be treated a little bit differently. They need to sometimes be treated with medications, sometimes be treated with other forms of therapy. But most of our emotions are generated from triggers. Something happens in our life that generates an emotion in us. We react or respond to something that's happening in our environment. Now, emotions require us to take some kind of action. They drive us to take some kind of action based on the emotion. If the emotion's a good emotion, we do things to try to keep it going. If the emotion's a bad emotion, we do things to try to make it stop. And this chain right here triggers emotions leading to actions. This is what most counseling is based on. It's also what most advertising is based on. You watch a TV commercial, creates a trigger to cause an emotion to get you to take action. So this is very common in our experience to have a trigger, an emotion, an action, and understand that. But how come you can put 100 people in a room, have the same trigger event, and get 50 different emotions out of it? There must be something underlying what emotion comes to the surface with a particular trigger. And so that's what I call beliefs. We have our beliefs. And our beliefs are the filter which will determine what kind of emotion comes to the surface at a trigger, and maybe even what kind of action that we take in response to the emotion. And it's in our beliefs that some of our beliefs are based on the truth, and some of our beliefs are based on lies. Lies that other people have told us, maybe when we were young, but we believed them, we took them in. Or the truth about us, the truth about other people, the truth about the world around us, or the truth about God. So our beliefs then can be based on either things that are true or things that are lies. And what we want to do is look at the lies and replace them with the truth. Let me tell you the real-life story of a young man named Reb. Reb was born to parents who were drug addicted, and they abandoned, rejected Reb, who was then taken by the system and put into a foster home. Some foster homes are awesome, and Reb was put into a home that simply wasn't awesome. And as he grew up in this home, he was abused, neglected, and rejected by this foster family. So he was put into a different foster family, and then another foster family. And then as he hit his young teenage years, he was adopted into a family that he had high hopes for. But in this adoptive family, he was still abused and rejected and neglected in his life. So when he hit 19 years old, he got as far away from his adoptive family as he could. He moved about 3,000 miles away. So when I met Reb in my office, he was depressed, suicidal, suffered from anxiety and panic attacks, and taking about 8 or 10 different medications for his situation, for his symptoms. Now, Reb wanted to go to college. He had dreams that he wanted to pursue. And he was still connected with his adopted mother, who would tell him that he would fail, that he wasn't good enough, that he would never succeed in life. He just wasn't smart enough. He just wasn't like everybody else. So when he wanted to go to college, he had this thing he had to figure out. He could disobey his mother and go to school, or should he obey his mother and never pursue his dreams? What would he choose to do? So this was just last year. And what happened was he ended up becoming very depressed, suicidal, and was hospitalized for a week. And that semester was lost. By doing this, he didn't have to make any hard decisions. He didn't have to disobey his mom. He didn't have to risk either success or failure. And the reality is that lots of people are depressed, and for a variety of reasons. And it's also a fact that there are a lot of people who were once depressed but are now over it and through it and have overcome it. And in just a minute, I'll tell you more about the story of Reb. Did you know that nationwide today, about 1 out of 5 adults or teenagers or children are dealing with a significant emotional or mental health issue such as depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, grief or loss, learning disabilities, or ADHD. And about 1 in 25 live with a serious mental health issue such as bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. While people are born with ADHD or learning disabilities, issues like depression or anxiety, they usually begin showing up in early teenage years. About 16 million adults, not counting children or teenagers, are struggling today with major depression. and more than twice that many struggle every day with an anxiety disorder or panic attacks or obsessive compulsive disorder. Depression and anxiety are not only common, but they are painful and they're often disabling. Women are twice as likely as men to suffer from either depression or anxiety, and only about 1/3 of people with these conditions will ever seek help from a professional. Most will talk with a friend or a relative or a pastor who more often than not will simply tell them to have more faith or get over it. Depression and anxiety disorders can come from a variety of causes, from neurotransmitter deficits or hormone problems. There are maybe 100 reasons why somebody might be depressed or have an anxiety problem, and I would love to talk with you about all 100 of them, but I will bore you with that. And what you need to know is that some of the reasons are biochemical, some are hormonal, some are having to do with grief or loss. Like I say, there's maybe 100 things that might cause depression or anxiety. But one little known fact is that about 20% of all people suffering from depression are really suffering from a thyroid problem that is easily diagnosed and treated by your family doctor. So if you know someone who is experiencing depression in their life, make sure the first thing you do is get them a really good, thorough physical examination to rule out things like a thyroid problem, a hormonal imbalance like testosterone in men or all those other hormones in women, or even problems like mononucleosis. I've seen that. I treated a woman for 6 weeks once for depression. We talked about everything trying to find the cause, and when we finally got her to the doctor, she tested positive for mono. Of all adults and teenagers with depression or anxiety who do get treatment, about 1/3 improve with just medication alone because there was a strong biochemical element to their depression or anxiety. But about 2/3 of people will also require some form of talking therapy in addition to the medications or other treatments that they use in order to overcome their depression or anxiety problems. So why do so many people of all ages, struggle with these emotional or mental health issues? Well, I'm sure you have an answer, or at least an opinion, and I've heard dozens of opinions, from pastors to prison guards, from school teachers to stockbrokers. Everyone has an opinion, but maybe Kaiser Permanente discovered at least part of the answer. About 20 years ago, the Kaiser Permanente Department of Preventive Medicine wanted to study adults and try to figure out if there was something in their past that might cause them or contribute to having physical problems in adulthood. And of course, Kaiser Permanente's business model is really based on keeping people well, not just treating people who are sick. So they have an investment in trying to find out what are some contributing factors to adult illnesses or heart disease or liver disease or whatever, big dollar ticket items. How can they prevent those things? So they ran a study that is called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. And the Department of Preventive Medicine studied 17,000 Kaiser Permanente members. Now think about that. Kaiser Permanente members. These are people who have jobs, middle class, upper middle class, typically, because they're paying for a $1,000 a month health insurance premium. So that was their population. And this is down in San Diego. And they wanted to find out how stressful or traumatic experiences during childhood might affect adult health. They listed 8 different problems, things that could have gone wrong in childhood that would be serious, significant problems. Physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, mom or dad having a serious mental disorder like bipolar disorder that would cause them to blow up, someone in their family close to them being arrested and sent to prison. These kinds of things. They listed 8 of those experiences. And they asked people to rate them. Did this ever happen to you, yes or no? They found that 37% of those 17,000 people in San Diego County did not have any experience of trauma growing up. Doesn't mean that they didn't have a rough childhood, but of those 8 things that they listed, 37% of the people did not experience any of those particular problems. But 63% did. 63% of those 17,000 members did experience either abuse or neglect, physical violence, the divorce of their parents, the arrest of one of their parents, and so on. 63%. And 20% experienced 3 or more of those categories. And what they found was that this resulted in higher levels of drug abuse, teen pregnancy, and depression through the teenage years, and that as adults, the adults experienced higher levels of alcoholism, depression, drug abuse, obesity, and domestic violence. You could see that. But what they didn't see coming was significantly higher levels of respiratory problems like COPD, poor health in general, heart disease, liver disease, STDs, smoking, and obesity and suicide attempts. All of this list was unexpected and yet occurred in far greater degree with those adults who had suffered some kind of trauma when they were growing up. And if you were abused or neglected or rejected or had a very chaotic family growing up, you know exactly what it is I'm talking about. Now, in my counseling practice, I meet with adults and teenagers and children who are now suffering from depression or anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and much more. And I do have dozens of articles here at this website that you can read through and learn from after you finish this video. Just go up to the articles section in the navigation bar. Now, I believe that we're made up of 3 important elements: body, soul or mind, and spirit. And when one of these is injured or inhibited in some way, we just kind of limp through life, frustrated, worried, fearful, depressed. But when these 3 are in proper working condition and in the right alignment, our lives move forward and we can move toward our greatest potential: focused, confident, happy, and free. Remember the story of Reb? When Reb was a child, he experienced several of those traumatic events. He was rejected by his family, who were drug users. He was rejected and abused by several foster families and even by his adoptive family. But what Reb has done is that one by one he has looked at the lies in his life and the impact of that past abuse. One by one he's examined the lies that he's been told. You'll never, you can't, you're not good enough. And he's replaced them with the truth. And Reb is now in college and he's moving forward. He is pursuing his dreams because his dreams became more important than listening to the lies his mother had told him. The lies that lived in his head every single day. He took his first class and he passed it. And he proved all of the voices wrong. And he replaced the lies with reality, with the truth. Now, one day, he may even be able to embrace the pain and abuse of his past, like the story of Cinderella. You know, Cinderella would be a dreadfully boring story if she grew up with her father who was wealthy and he never died, and stepmother was a wonderful person, and Cinderella got along with her sisters, and then one day Cinderella met the prince and married him. That's a story you would read once. But what makes Cinderella the fascinating story that we'll watch over and over and over again is all of the pain that she suffered in her life, that she overcame, and that her life ends happily ever after. Reb's not there yet, and yet he has overcome the limits that the lies has placed on his life, and in his mind and his will and his emotions, and Reb is moving forward. Now, I know this to be true in my own life as well. Rejection causes us to doubt ourselves, to doubt our abilities, and to doubt our futures. Even subtle things spoken to us or about us by our parents or our teachers, our coaches, they can impact us and limit us for years unless we're set free by reality, by the truth. So one of the first things I want to tell you to help you to overcome all of this is simply this: you are never stuck where you think you're stuck. What you are blaming now for holding you back, that's not really the problem. If it was, you would have fixed it by now. So what's really limiting you? Let's find this out and let's overcome it. Let's find out what the lies are that you've come to believe about yourself, and let's replace them with the truth. This isn't just a shift in your mindset. This isn't just willpower or positive thinking. There may actually be some things that you'll need to change in your life, something you may need to stop doing, something you may need to start doing, or there may be some new skill sets that you'll need to learn. But more than likely, there are lies that you have been told about yourself that are holding you back and keeping you from moving forward. And these must be identified and replaced with the truth. There are many factors that come into play in moving ahead in our lives. We have to examine our environment, our behaviors, our capabilities, our beliefs, and our values. We have to look at where we get our sense of identity or legitimacy. And our focus, our vision, and purpose in life is so very important. After 30 years of working with people of all ages and incomes, levels of education, I've found that people understand the world around them and they make decisions in their life based upon what they believe about 4 things. What you believe about yourself, what you believe about other people, what you believe about the nature of the world, and what you believe about God. And these beliefs are either based on the truth or they're based on lies. Lies that we've been told and have taken in. Look, we're not responsible for the lies that people have told us. It was their lips that were moving. But we are responsible for having believed those lies and having taken them inside of us. And what I've found, talking with many hundreds of people, is that believing lies about themselves, it often makes us feel safe, but the lies are always very limiting in our lives. The lies that we believe corrupt how we feel about ourselves, about our value as a person, about our views of work or money or success, and about our relationships to other people, and even our relationship to God. Where did these lies come from? Again, they come from things that our parents may have said to us, or friends, other children growing up, or school teachers, piano teachers, sports coaches, any variety of people. And the most common lies start with phrases like, you can't, you won't, you'll never, you're not good enough, you don't deserve to. These are the kinds of lies that need to be overcome, and they can be overcome. In fact, I want you right now to get a piece of paper, a pad of paper, and a pen and sit down and make a list of the lies that are inside your head or inside your heart that you know are holding you back. What are the you can't phrases that you hear every day, or the you'll never phrases? Take time to list them, write them all down, and really look at them. Are they the truth? Are they based on lies that someone told you and that you took in and believed? Have you traded your hopes and dreams for the safety of believing these lies? If so, it's time to begin, one by one, replacing these lies with the truth. And the truth will set us free from the power of the lies. If it's time now in your life to address these issues, to move forward in your life to overcome depression or get free from anxiety, then I encourage you to give me a phone call today. We can arrange an appointment time to meet in the near future and begin the process of overcoming the things that have held you back or made you fearful or made you depressed. I am an absolute optimist. When someone really wants to get better, really wants to make changes and move forward in life or get free, I'm an optimist that they can do that. So by just scrolling down this page, you'll find a link to my office forms where you can print them out and read about my office policies and procedures and prices. And if you would please fill those out and bring them with you to your first appointment with me, that will save us about 10 minutes of time at that first appointment. I live and work in the beautiful mountain setting of Bear Valley Springs, just outside of Tehachapi. We're about an hour from either Bakersfield or the Antelope Valley. And if you don't live in the Tehachapi area, or you have physical limitations, disabilities that would make it difficult for you to travel to my office, I want you to know that I work with a number of people by meeting with them on Skype or FaceTime or over the telephone. So even though I live in a fairly remote but beautiful mountain community, we may still have an opportunity to work together and to help you move forward in your life. So please feel free to give me a call today. My phone number is listed just down below on this webpage. And the most important thing that I can tell you is that God is on your side. Now, I believe that the heart of God is most fully revealed to us through the ministry, the teachings, and the life of Jesus Christ. And 2,000 years ago, as Jesus Christ walked this earth, what he did was written down by several men, one of them whose name was Luke. So Luke records how as Jesus begins his ministry, he was baptized by his cousin John the Baptist, how he went into the desert for a long time to be tempted by the devil in the desert, and then he heads home, and he heads back to his hometown of Nazareth. On the way, he drops in the villages, he heals people, he teaches, he's creating a pretty big social buzz about himself as he heads back to Nazareth. He gets there, and they give him a church service, a service at the synagogue to begin his ministry. He is kicking off officially his ministry. And while he's at the synagogue there, everybody is there. You know, his family is there. The people he went to high school with, they're there. The soccer team he played on, all those guys are there. Everybody is there. And so he is given the opportunity to read from the scriptures and then to give a sermon. It's his big ministry kickoff day. So Jesus asks for the scroll of the prophet Isaiah, and he quotes from Isaiah chapter 61, and even a sentence from Isaiah chapter 41 is in there. He's given the scroll. He finds the place where it says this: "The Spirit of the sovereign Lord God is upon me, because he has anointed me, he has chosen me to preach good news to those who are poor in their spirits, those who feel bankrupt inside. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for those who feel like they're living in prison cells, to give recovery of sight to the blind, those who cannot see or those who will not see, to come to those who have broken hearts, and take all of the pieces of their broken heart and bind them back together again, put them back healed. And for those who are oppressed, for those that something is oppressing them like chains over their life, to bring them liberty, freedom, and deliverance, and to proclaim to everyone that this is the time of God's favor to mankind." And then he rolled up the scroll and he gave it back to the attendant, and he sat down to preach. In those days, the rabbis would sit down when they did their sermon. They'd sit down in order to teach. So he sat down, and the eyes of everyone in that room were on him. And in his sermon, he said this: "This begins today. Let's get started." And this is the heart of God for you and for me. Freedom, deliverance, broken hearts to be healed, sight to be given, release from oppression. So whatever it is that's holding you back, it is the heart of God that you be released from that to move forward into the relationship with God that He's always wanted for you, and into the relationships with other people that you've always wanted to have. God is on the side of your freedom. So if you are ready to get started, I encourage you, give me a call today, and we'll start making plans to help you to get free and move forward.